Tina Cooks is made possible through the generous support of E.T. Cody & Sons Auto Parts, Leominster, Papa John's Pizza, Leominster and Fitchburg, KC's Body Connection Massage Center, connecting body, mind, and spirit, Boucher Construction, Central Mass Sand and Gravel. Welcome to Tina Cooks. Today we're doing sides. Side dishes, that is. I'm going to start out with a spaghetti squash. Now I know I've showed you spaghetti squash before, but this is going to be a totally different. This is very difficult to get through, so I tend to bang it on the counter. This is going to be different than the other one. It was the last spaghetti squash I did was with stuffed peppers. Oh my goodness, Carl. And it was a little boring, but I've come a long way with the spaghetti squash, even though I can't get it cut open. And this is a really good recipe. I think you're going to enjoy it. We're just going to pull this thing open, I think, because it's very, very difficult to cut. So you know, when you do this at home, make sure you're very careful because you don't want to be losing any fingers or anything like that. Okay, now that I've won that battle, this is basically the same. I did this with the other squash. We're just going to seed it. Okay. Too bad my hands aren't working. Okay. And this side. I'm going to put tomatoes and artichoke hearts and green olives. And we're going to saute this, and it's going to be an awesome dish. So this has come a long way since the first time I did it. The first time I ate it, I got to be honest with you, I didn't like it. I said, oh, there's got to be a better way to fix this squash. So I found one. I mean, I've done it with, I start out with spinach al oil, and then I drop it in there with a little bit of Romano cheese. So I've done quite a few things with this squash since I experimented with it the first time. And now we're going to salt this. Oops. Okay. Use some salt. Just sprinkle salt to your taste. I don't use a ton of salt, but this vegetable is very boring, so it has to be seasoned. Has to be. Pepper. Carl, I forgot the granulated garlic. Like I said, someday, Carl, in a perfect world, I'm going to remember everything, but not today. All right, so we got garlic. Yeah, I'm going a little heavy, but like I said, it needs it. And we're going to sprinkle just a little parsley in there. Of course, I'm making a mess, but hey, that's what makes cooking fun. We're going to wrap these in aluminum foil. Okay, like so, because you want them to steam. I used a cookie sheet before. And I found that you don't need a cookie sheet. A little tin foil will do the same thing. We're going to take these. I've got my oven on about 350, 375. We're going to use the little mini oven over here. Okay? Try not to rip your aluminum foil when you put it in there. Now that squash, oh my goodness, this got stuck. That squash is going to take a good half an hour, 40 minutes, because you want it nice and tender. You'll check it from the other side, because that will, the outside skin doesn't normally get real soft. So we'll move this. And then we're going to go into cabbage. I love cabbage. It's one of my favorite things. And I'm going to show you. I just do a simple boil. It's not anything complicated. I usually do vegetables like this on the weekend so that I have them during the week when I make my quick sautés. We had a beef saute 2 weeks ago, and you're probably watching the chicken tarragon and I forgot what the other chicken dish was. But we're gonna go into cutting the cabbage up. Okay, now when I cook cabbage, I want it to taste like something. So I'm going to add some granulated garlic to the water. Okay. I'm going to add some pepper. I'm going to add some salt. And I'm going to add some beef and chicken base because I want it to taste like something, okay? So this is what, where's that other little beef base? Okay. I'm going to add some chicken and some beef base because I want it to taste like something. And this is what I like to season it with. Just a little bit of chicken. And this is why I like the bases, because it makes it, it gives it like almost a soupy flavor. So your cabbage is not going to be bland in there. And then I just shred it. You know, not a thin shred. Now, when you cook your cabbage, you can cook it. I like mine cooked. I like it soft. I don't like it crunchy. I almost kind of like it mushy. It's probably not, you might lose some of your vegetables, but I don't like a crunchy cabbage. I just don't. But if you like a crunchy cabbage, just keep checking it, and when you feel you have it done to your doneness, take it off. Put the rest of the cabbage in here. Now, normally I slice some onions in here, but my niece Amy bought me these dried onions, and I'm going to give them a shot. We're going to put them in the water over here. They'll hydrate when the cabbage starts to boil. So we're going to cover the cabbage. We're going to put it on the stove right over here. I'm going to start it out on high so that it comes to a boil. Then when it boils, I'm going to bring it down to a simmer for about 20-25 minutes, right around there. Like I said, I like my cabbage soft. I don't want it hard or crunchy. Now the next thing I'm going to work on, let me get rid of the cabbage, okay? The next thing we're going to do is green beans. Now this is a green bean salad. I love it like this. So I'm going to clean my beans. This is going to take me a few minutes because I like to cut the ends off. I don't cut them in half. A lot of people do. I don't break them in half. I like them nice and long. So I'm just going to clean these beans real quick. Alrighty, that wasn't too bad. Now those are all clean. We're going to wash them out like this. And then, I don't know if you can walk over here with me, but I'm going to get some water in this frying pan. I'm going to salt it, and then we're going to put the beans on to boil. I always wash all my vegetables. Make sure they're nice and clean. We're going to salt this water. I'm going to put this on high. And I'm also going to boil the beans a good 15-20 minutes. I don't like my beans hard either. I put a lot of salt in that water because the beans need some flavor. Okay, we're going to take the beans, put them in there. Of course, I just splashed my nice clean stove. That's all right. I use my utensils, my equipment. Here we go. We're going to cover this up. We're going to let these boil and cook, and we'll be back. I'm just going to check on my cabbage real quick because it's boiling. I'm just going to push it all down, stir the juice around. Okay. I'm going to bring this down to a medium simmer, like this. You want it simmering, not boiling real hard. And we're going to check our beans. And they're going pretty good. So we're going to keep them covered. And I'm going to bring them down to a simmer. I usually bring them down to about 3 or 4, so that they're still boiling. But they don't have to boil real hard. And we're just going to let them simmer. Okay? And we'll be back. All right, we're going to check the cabbage first. I want to see how that's going. Ooh, that's going good, but it's not ready yet. I'm going to take that down just a tish. It's still boiling kind of hard. But these beans, however, are ready to go. See how they just kind of like lost their color a little bit? I know you're not supposed to cook vegetables like that. I do. I like beans like this. I'm going to come over to the sink and I'm going to drain them off. All right. I'm not going to cool them down because we're going to walk over to the stove over here. We're going to finish them off. Okay, now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this down. I'm not going to put this on the heat just yet because I want to chop some onions and some garlic. I'm just going to smash that garlic down and I'm going to chop it like that. The onions I'm going to slice because I like onions. So we're going to do it my way today. Okay, we're going to start out with a little olive oil in our pan. We're going to go into our pan now. Put a little olive oil in our pan. Now this is not just regular beans, green bean salad. I like it with a little bit of a twist. I'm going to throw my onions and garlic in here. Okay. Make sure I get them all. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring these up to temperature a little bit. Okay. Add a little bit of oil in there. I don't want a lot of oil. Usually I put a little more when I'm making an aloe. But my secret to this is after we saute everything, I put a little bit of Italian dressing on them and just shake them up. Oh, are they good? And that's what I call a bean salad. You can eat them hot and you can eat them cold. And they're delicious that way. These just need to get going a little bit more. If you like butter, you could add a little chunk of butter in here if you want to. It'll give it a nice buttery flavor, but I like the salad dressing. I think the butter overdoes just a little bit. Okay, so now I'm going to come over to the sink and I'm going to get my beans. Okay, so we're going to bring these back over to the stove. And there we go. And there is a little bit of water in there, but that's fine. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to season the beans. Even though I put salt in the water, I still want to season the beans. So we're going to season them up. These beans are very, very tasty. They have between the oil and garlic and the salt when you're boiling them and the seasonings after and the salad dressing. I'll tell you, you don't get tastier beans than this. Some parsley. And I like it for the green color. Some nice pepper. I'll let my onions and garlic cook a little bit. Stir these in. Bring this down a tish. And I'm going to cover these and I'm going to let them finish up just a little bit. I'm going to let them go a couple of minutes and we'll be right back. All right, now these have only gone about a minute or two. They haven't really gone that long, okay? And they're still, you know, you can see the onions are still a little crunchy. Okay. Now what I'm going to do at the last minute is I'm going to shut off the heat. I'm going to shake up. I use a good seasons. I like to mix my own because when I mix my own salad dressing, sometimes I use lemon, sometimes I use cider vinegar, sometimes I use wine vinegar. There's balsamic. You can make just about any dressing you want out of these packages. It all decides on what dressing you use. Now, I want to say I put maybe a tablespoon in there. I don't like a lot because these beans already have a lot of flavor. Okay? You're just going to toss it around in the pan, and then we're going to bring them up over to the plate. So let's go walk over to the plate. Okay, so now we're going to plate these up. Get a nice big bowl. And there we go. And I'll tell you, beans don't get much better than this. This is green bean salad. And like I said, good hot or cold. Okay, this cabbage is done. Just the way I like it. Nice and done and soft. Oh yeah, it's perfect. Okay, we're gonna bring this over to the table and we are going to plate it up. Okay, here we go. Now I don't take all the juice with it. Now, if you want to bring this a little more, you can al oil this, which means garlic and oil. You can put a little garlic in the bottom of a pan with some oil, and you just fry it up. It's good like that too. I've done that. But this is my favorite way to do cabbage. Yeah. This is also weight conscious too. It's not a lot of calories in here. There's no oil, there's no fat. It's just plain boiled cabbage, but it's very tasty. Okie dokie. There's our cabbage. We have green beans, cabbage, and spaghetti squash yet to come. Okay. Now the squash is ready to rock and roll. Now, this is what we gotta do. Turn this over. Oh yeah, see? Nice and... Yep, that's great. Okay, now we'll take this one, turn this over. Oh yeah. Excellent. Now we're gonna give this a few minutes to cool. Okay, close that. Because that's very hot. Okay, I'm gonna start to take the squash out. This is still really, really hot. You might want to wait for it to cool a little more. But I don't know. There's something about burning yourself when you cook. Okay. You can see that I'm scooping this out, trying to keep this hard stuff off here. We don't want the shell in there because it's really very tough. Okay, this is a nice yellowy squash. It's probably a little off season. This is supposed to be a winter squash, but they're usually a little more orange. Okay, that's one. And here's the other guy. Okay, here we go. Kind of loosen from the sides first so that we don't get any of the hard skins in there. Here we go. Getting it all over my shirt. I really get into my cooking. Okay. And there we go. And then just loosen it up. Make sure it's all spaghettied. Okay, I'm gonna wipe off my shirt. And we're gonna throw this in the sink. Then we're gonna come over to the stove. I'm gonna show you how to saute this. It's gonna be wonderful. Okay, we're gonna start the spaghetti squash. Put on this heat, put it on number 4, get it going a little bit. I'm gonna finish dicing up some garlic. I'm just gonna dice it. Now I had gotten artichoke hearts, which were just packed in water. They're not marinated. Do not buy the marinated ones in the jar. And some green olives I'm gonna slice. I have some onions. Just gonna slice these up. That's the Microwave beeping. Okay. We're gonna come over here. I'm gonna put this over here so that's easier to saute. There we go. Use a little bit of olive oil in the bottom of the pan. It's always nice. Just coat the bottom of the pan. Let me see, what am I gonna stir with? I think I will stir with this one. Oh, that's a trick. I'm gonna put my onions in first. Get those nice and soft. I want to break them up a little bit. Get those going. Throw in some garlic, like so. Of course, I dropped a few pieces, but I'm not going to let them get away. Spread that out. Just going to let those soften a little bit. I'm always spraying myself with oil and all kinds of stuff and make a mess. They're chopped tomatoes. They're actually diced tomatoes. These are the tomatoes I like to use with this type of dish because there's chunks of tomatoes in it. Okay, and that's what you want. We're gonna get these onions and this garlic going. I want them to get soft a little bit. Okay. I'm gonna add in some wine. That's a nice red wine. I'm not going to use a lot, just enough. About a half a cup or so. And we're going to let the alcohol burn off on that. I'm going to put this back. I'm going to let that simmer just a little bit because you don't want the alcohol in there. You can smell, when you cook with a wine, you can smell the alcohol coming out of it. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add the diced tomatoes. Okay, now those tomatoes are huge. So I'm going to take my potato masher and I'm just going to mash them down a little bit just to break them up just a tish, mainly to get the juice out. And I am going to put this up almost to high, medium high, because I want this to simmer and get thick. Okay. Now these tomatoes are already seasoned a little bit, okay? But I'm naturally going to season. Because spaghetti squash, like I said before, is very shabba. It doesn't have flavor, any flavor to it at all, really. I'm gonna go light on the salt. This already has basil and oregano in it. It's added to the tomatoes. So I'm gonna add some parsley. And I'm gonna add some pepper. My favorite spices: salt, pepper, parsley, garlic, salt, granulated garlic. A little bit of garlic here. There we go. Okay, now we are going to let this simmer till it reduces a little bit. So let's let this simmer away, and we'll be back in a few when it's reduced down. The tomatoes have reduced. Come in close, Carl, and get this. They're reducing still a little bit, but that's okay. Because what we're going to do now is we're going to throw in our artichokes. Ooh, wonderful. Now those are canned artichokes packed in water. They are not marinated artichokes. Marinated artichokes are very salty and vinegary. They won't fit in here. Okay, I can't get my butcher block back. So we're going to stir this in and get those nice and warm. Okay. Then we're going to take our spaghetti squash. We're going to try to take it out of the bowl because in the bottom of the bowl there's some water left from the squash. Oh, you know what else I see? I see an end. That is not going to taste good. That is a skin. Yuck. That would be gross. Ed, this is for you. That would be nice. Alrighty, we're going to stir this in. That would be nice. Okay. A let me sing at all the basketball games. Okay, so we're gonna mix this in. Okay, see how the squash is just like, I use a fork or a spaghetti server because it makes the squash break up like spaghetti. Now, of course, I didn't pre-grate, so I'm going to be grating on the fly here. Jeez. That heat is coming right up over that pan and frying my hands. Now, this is spaghetti squash to remember. Sometimes when I experiment, Carl has this saying, this is a meal to remember. Remember never to serve it again. But it doesn't pertain to the spaghetti squash. Okay. We're going to bring this to the table, and we're going to plate it up. Okay. So here we go. Ooh, Carl, I got to make some room here, man. Because I got to spoon this out. Here we go. Now I use a slotted spoon because this is a little wet. The olives give it a nice little salty flavor. It's great. Okay, so here we have our sides. Green bean salad, cabbage, and spaghetti squash with artichokes and green olives. These are sides you're gonna enjoy. Thank you for watching Tina Cooks. Have a good night. I wish I was a man, I'd shave my head. I know women shave their head, but I think I'd look ridiculous with a shaved head. Don't you? What do you think? Should I shave my head? What do you think? Well, I always have hair sticking out and